Oh boy, here we go. Swinburne. Now, Swinburne it's technically not decadent poetry, but the guy's a big influence. He's kind of associated with the pre-Raphaelites. That's an amazing movement of art. No, like I said, these movements are not like scenes, like some they influence each other over time. I'd say just like these influenced decadence. I mean, of course, Swinburne lived in France, like a lot of these English men that got in trouble in England. Uh, and of course, they influenced probably the last group of writers to really be influenced by them. Were ironically the Weird Tales writers. I'll get into that. But anyway, let's read Swinburne's. His poetry is very long. His mother even had mentioned that, oh, you just keep going on and on and on. But it has an appeal. There's a real strong pagan appeal in them. Uh, and I'll cover some other stuff that wasn't ever printed that were interesting. But let me get going because this is going to be long. Right? Hymn to Prosperine, right? After the proclamation in Rome of the Christian faith. Vicisti, Galilee. Right? I have lived long enough, having seen one thing that love hath an end. Goddess and maiden and queen, be near me now and befriend. Thou art more than the day of the morrow, the seasons that laugh or that weep. For these give joy and sorrow, but thou, Prosperina, sleep. Sweet is the treading of wine, and sweet the feet of the dove. But a goodlier gift is thine than foam of the grapes, or love. Yea, it is not even Apollo, with hair and harp-strings of gold. A bitter God to follow, a beautiful God to behold. I am sick of singing. The bays burn deep in chafe. I am fain to rest a little from praise and grievous pleasure and pain. For the gods we know not of, who give us our daily breath, we know that they are cruel as life or love, and lovely as death. O gods dethroned and deceased, cast forth, wiped out in a day. From your wrath is the world released, redeemed from your chains, men say. New gods are crowned in the city. Their flowers have broken your rods. They are merciful, clothed with pity, the young compassionate gods. But for me their new device is barren. The days are bare. Things long passed over suffice, and men forgotten that were. Time and the gods are at strife, yet dwell in the midst thereof, draining a little life from the barren breasts of love. I say to you, cease, take rest, yea, I say to you, all be at peace, till the bitter milk of her breast and the barren bosom shall cease. Wilt thou yet take all, Galilean? But these thou shalt not take. The laurel, the palms, and the paeon, the breasts of the nymphs and the brake, breasts more soft than a dove's, that tremble with tenderer breath, and all the wings of the loves, and all the joy before death. All the feet of the hours that sound as a single lyre, dropped in deep in the flowers, the strings that flicker like fire. More than these wilt thou give, things fairer than all these things. Nay, for a little we live, and life hath mutable wings. A little while, and we die. Shall life not thrive as it may? For no man under the sky lives twice, outliving his day. And grief is a grievous thing, and man hath enough of his tears. Why should he labor and bring fresh grief to blacken his years? Thou hast conquered, O pale Galilean. The world has grown grey from thy breath. We have drunken of things Lethean, and fed in the fullness of death. Laurel is green for a season, and love is sweet for a day. But love grows bitter with treason, and laurel outlives not May. Sleep, shall we sleep after all, for the world is not sweet in the end. For the old faiths loosen and fall, the new years ruin and rend. Fate is a sea without shore, and the soul is a rock that abides. But her ears are vexed with the roar, and her face with the foam of the tides. O lips that the live blood faints in, the leavings of rocks and rods! O ghastly glories of saints, dead limbs of gibbeted gods! Though all men abase them before you in spirit, and all knees bend, I kneel not, neither adore you, but standing looking to the end. All delicate days and pleasant, all spirits and sorrows are cast far out with the foam of the present that sweeps the surf or the past. Where beyond the extreme sea wall and between the remote sea gates, waste water washes and tall ships founder and deep death waits. were mighty with deepening sides, clad about with the seas as with wings, and impaled of invisible tides, and fulfilled of unspeakable things. Wide-eyed and poisonous-finned, shark-toothed and serpentine-curled, rolls under the whitening wind of the future, the wave of the world. The depths stand naked and sundered behind it. The storms flee away. In the hollow before it is the thunder is taken and snared as prey. In its sides is the north wind bound, and its salt is of all men's tears, with light of ruin and sound of changes and pulse of years, with travail of day after day, and with trouble of hour upon hour, and bitter as blood is the spray, and the crests are as fangs that devour, and its vapor and storm of its steam, as the sighing of spirits to be, and its noise as the noise in a dream, and its depths as the roots of the sea, and the height of its heads with the height of the utmost stars in the air, and the ends of the earth at the might thereof tremble, and time is made bare. Will ye bridle the deep sea with reins? Will ye chasten the high sea with rods? Will ye take her to chain her with chains, who is older than all ye gods? All ye as a wind shall go by, as a fire shall ye pass and be past. Ye are gods, and behold, ye shall die, and the waves be upon you at last. Now I can keep going, right? 'Cause Swinburne, he keeps going and going. But I'd like to focus on, he did that, what was it, Atalanta and Caledon is like another drama poem, I guess similar to like the Manfred that I had covered last year. But some of the stuff he did, he wrote prose too. He wrote about Baudelaire, right? Some of the stuff he wrote that wasn't printed, like uncollected poetry, some of this stuff was really interesting. And it's also shorter, but right, the Cannibal Catechism, I keep fucking screwing that up. Vested from the writings of the fathers of the church. Right? He's not a fan of Christianity. Preserve us from our enemies, those who art Lord of suns and skies, whose meat and drink is flesh and pies, and blood in bowls. Of thy sweet mercy damn their eyes and damn their souls. The cannibal of just behavior acknowledges the Lord his Savior, with gifts of whose especial favor he hath been crammed. To him an offering of sweet savor, or all the damned. O Lord, thy people know full well that all who eat not flesh and fell, who cannot rightly speak or spell thy various names, shall be forever boiled in hell among the flames. Glad tidings of great exultation proclaim we to the chosen nation, to all men else in every station, the joyful story that they are going to damnation and we to glory. In pits of sulphur thou wilt cram them, in chains of burning brimstone jam them, squeeze them like figs, like wadding ram them, with flames surround them. O Lord of love, confound and damn them, damn and confound them, grind them to pieces small and gritty. O thou, whose names are love and pity, roast brown all faces that were pretty, all black even blacker, strip off the trappings of their city, paint plumes and lacquer. The foes thy people seek to kill, even as a devil do thou grill. O let the stormy anger still, shake them like jellies, give thou their carcasses to fill thy servants' bellies. The heathen, whose ungodly lip doth an ungodly pewter dip, curses gin, whiskey, rum, and flip, strong ale and bumbo, scourge him with anger as a whip. O mumbo jumbo, the men who eat their neighbors not, for all such has the Lord made hot, to boil their souls as in a pot, the fire of hell. But if leave not me to rot, then all is well. The milky vegetable race, of such as have not seen thy face, Lord, damn them by the special grace. Thou who art gracious, and raise into the holy place me Anthanasis. Right? Cleopatra, this is really good. Like I said, that's probably the best Shakespeare play, but I'm not going to cover it because it's kind of long. Right? But I thought this was kind of funny. This little, what is this? Disgust, a dramatic monologue. I kind of like to enjoy this. This is, you have all these little dramas that are poems. Anyway, a woman and her husband have been converted from the free thought to Calvinism, right? And being utterly miserable in consequence, resolved to end themselves by poison. The man dies, but the woman is rescued by application of the stomach pump. Pills. Talk to me of your pills. Well, that I must say is cool. Can't bring my old man round. He was always a stubborn old fool. If I hadn't taken precautions, a warning to all that wives, he might not have been dead, and I might not have been alive. You would like to know, if I please, how it was that our troubles began. You see, we were brought up agnostics, I and my poor old man, and we got some idea of selection and evolution, you know. Professor Huxley's doing. Where does he expect to go? Well, then he came trouble on trouble on trouble, I may say a peck, and his cousin was wanted one day on the charge of forging a check, and if his puppy died of the mange, my parrot choked on his perch. This was the consequence, was it, of not going weekly to church? So we felt that the best, if not only thing that remained to be done, on an earth everlasting moving about a perpetual sun, where worms breed worms to be eaten of worms that have eaten their betters, and reviews are barely civil, and people get spiteful letters, and a famous man is forgot ere the mimic hand can tick 9, was to send in our PPC and purchase a package of strychnine. Nay, but first we thought it was rational, only fair, to give both parties a hearing, and went to the meeting house there, at the curse of the street that runs from the Stag to the old Blue Lion. Little Zion they called it, a deal more little than Zion. And the preacher preached from the text, come out here. Hadn't we come? And we thought of the shepherd in Pickwick, and fancied a flavor of rum. Balmily born on the wind of his words, and my man said, well, let's get out of this, my dear, for his text has a brimstone smell. So we went, O God, out of chapel, and gazed at God at the sea. And I said nothing to him, and he said nothing to me. And there, you see, was an end of it all. It was obvious, in fact, that whether or not you believe in the doctrine taught in the tract, life was not in the least worth living. Because, don't you see, nothing that can't be can, and what must be QED. And the infinitesimal sources of infinite unideality curved into the central abyss of a sort of queer personality, whose reflection is felt in the nebulae strewn in the pathway of Mars, like the pairings of nails Ionian, clippings and slippings of stars, shavings of suns that revolve and evolve and evolve, and at times give a sweet astronomical twang to remarkably hobbling rhymes. And the sea curved in with a moan, and we thought how once before we fell out with those atheist lecturers, once and no more. We read together while midnight blazed like the Yankee flag, a reverend gentleman's work, the conversion of Colonel Quagg, and out of its pages we gathered this lesson of doctrine pure, Zephaniah Stockdolliger's gospel, a word that deserves to endure infinite millions on millions of infinite aeons to come. Vocation, says he, is vocation, and duty, some. And duty, said I distinctively, points out, and vacation, said he, demands as distinctly that I should kill you, and that you should kill me. The reason is obvious. We can't exist without creeds. Who can? So we went to the chemist's, highly respectable church-going man, and bought 2 packets of poison. You wouldn't have done so. Wait, it's evident Providence is not with you, ma'am, and same thing is fate. Unconscious cerebration induces God from a fog. But spell God's backwards, what done? Give it up, the answer is dog. I don't exactly see how this last verse is to scan, but that's a consideration I leave to the secular man. I meant, of course, to go with him as far as I pleased, but first to see how my old man liked it. I thought perhaps he might burst. I didn't wish it, but still it's a blessed relief for a wife. And he saw that I thought so, and grinned in derision, and threatened my life if I made wry faces, and so I took just a sip, and he, well, you know how it ended. He didn't get over me. Terrible, isn't it? Still, on reflection, it might have been worse. He might have been the unhappy survivor and followed my hearse. Never do it again. Why, certainly not. You don't. Suppose I think of it, surely, but anyhow, there, I won't. Yeah, this guy, Swinburne, man, when you get into Swinburne, he really had that sense of rhythm. It's definitely not free verse in the slightest. A very prolific guy too, and Algernon. And I remember when I bought this in the Barnes and Noble at Union Square, which is probably the only decent one left. I remember I got this, and there was, I guess, the case cutter guy or person cut this open, and I saw that, and I was like, I kind of like that. So, will I ever go back to that Barnes and Noble? I don't know. Will I trek to that place? I guess we'll find out early next year. All right, later.